is October on the farm, which is my favorite month of all. I love this month because the weather is finally starting to cool off from a long, hot summer, and things on the farm just look so pretty this time of year. All of our baby calves for our fall calving season have been born. So that is behind us, and now we are getting all the cows back together in one big herd, and we're going to do some fall rotations on pasture. I love seeing all the baby calves out thriving on fall pasture and just enjoying the cool down and the lesser fly load this time of year. There's so many things that the change of seasons really just gets me so excited and so ready to embrace the season that I'm in. Things are still plenty busy right now with chores and so much going on, but I wanted to make a point to spend some time in my kitchen this week. I'm starting off this week in my kitchen by getting a big batch of beef bone broth going, and then I'll immediately follow up with some chicken bone broth while I have the Instant Pot out. I like having both on hand because there's obviously some flavor differences, and then just different recipes you just would rather have some beef broth or chicken broth, and we have plenty of both. So I always do a big round of it when I get it all out to do it. Not that it's hard, I just like to do a lot at one time and kind of stock my freezer with some jars of broth. I found with beef broth, you almost have to roast them in the oven before slow cooking them. Otherwise, they're just really fatty. But if you can roast them in the oven, it really helps kind of melt some of that fat off, I guess. And then when you go to thaw it back out, you have mostly broth and not mostly fat, which is the case on beef broth often, whereas chicken broth is just so easy. You just can throw it straight in the Instant Pot and let it slow cook without that extra step. After letting the beef broth go all night and into the next day, getting it strained off and putting it into jars, and then putting chicken right back into the Instant Pot. I always use chicken backs for this because that's something that would normally just get wasted or discarded after processing. But I like to get all the backs back because they make such easy broth. I don't even worry about saving the meat off of them, just because you can let it slow cook for 18 to 24 hours and use it all as broth, and it just makes such a really good flavor by letting it all be in the Instant Pot for that long and not even pulling that meat off. It's super simple to make, and I just love stocking up on it, especially this time of year, so I can incorporate it into some cozy fall recipes. Nothing says good morning like waking up to a text from my dad that said the pigs are out. So I right away had to get out this morning and wrangle some hogs back into our catch facility area. Luckily they came very easily. They pretty much just followed all the way into there. And then I was able just to contain them for a while so I could fix their fence. And it looks like the only thing that happened was one of them must have just rooted right up against the electric netting, and all the dirt piled up and basically the netting just fell over. So they just took a stroll around the farm. I think they might have been out for quite a while, probably all night long. But I decided to, instead of just putting the fence back up, I decided to move it so that they would have more grass and wooded area to munch through and root around. So hopefully that'll keep them busy and entertained, and they won't be getting out anytime again soon. I'm hopeful that the pen I set up will entertain these guys for a little while longer, and they won't have to root their way out again and stroll all over the woods. Pigs are just so funny. They are always busy and they're always wanting to root through stuff. If they're not napping, they're rooting up the ground and just really being nosy about things. So we try to keep this electric netting fencing moving around pretty often so that way they can just stay busy, and they really enjoy munching through all the greenery. And if you keep it moving on time, they do a really good job at rooting up the ground and then giving us somewhere that we can put some seeds in this fall or next spring and turn it into actually good grazing for the cattle. So the pigs really do serve a purpose. You just have to make sure to move them around the farm quick enough so that they don't ruin one area by being there too long and rooting it up too much. Really all year, but especially this time of year, I love to keep fresh bread going in my kitchen. So I like to get batches of sourdough bread going pretty much every week. I just make one big double batch of stretch and fold. So I just put all my dough together, and then throughout the day as I get time, I'll stretch and fold that dough. And then I'll cook one loaf right away that night or whenever it is fermented enough, and then I'll put the other loaf just in the refrigerator to use at a different time throughout the week. So usually like a couple days we'll get through the one loaf, and then that other loaf has been slow fermenting in the refrigerator for a few days, and then I'll bake it. So I don't do sourdough all the time, but like I said, pretty much once a week I'll get it out and get a couple loaves going, especially this time of year when I have a little bit more time to spend in the kitchen, and it just seems to go really good with all the fall meals that I'm preparing. Something else that I try to keep stocked in my kitchen all the time is sauerkraut. So I'm always doing rounds of bone broth and then trying to keep that stocked in my kitchen for gut health. And sauerkraut's something else that's super easy to make and is so good for gut health. And not only that is that it's healthy, it's really easy to add as a simple side for lunch or dinner this time of year, especially to go with soups or sandwiches, whatever it is. So I found that just doing about 4 to 5 big cabbages at a time, I can get about a gallon's worth of sauerkraut, and that'll last our family for quite a while. We eat pretty much of it, but that'll last probably a month or so in our refrigerator, and then I'll just whip up another batch whenever we run out. So I do think it's important to try to have a few staple things on hand all the time, not only because of the health benefits, but also just for a simple side to add to a meal. And it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to keep it stocked in the refrigerator. I try to keep a flow going in my kitchen and try to cook as many meals from scratch as I can so that I'm making healthy meals for my family. And that looks different all different times of the year. So during the spring and summer when things are just so busy, I stick to what I know and I don't really experiment with a whole lot more. And I just really mostly focus on meat and then working through vegetables from our garden. Most of the time we just do like a smoked or cooked meat and then roasted vegetables or fried vegetables, just easy go-to meals that I don't have to think about how to prepare them. But during the fall and the winter time, when I have a little bit more time to experiment in the kitchen, that's whenever I will set in to learn a new skill or try a new recipe. And sauerkraut is one of those things that was a bit overwhelming for me at first, which seems so silly because once you start doing it, you realize just how simple it is. But it is a process, and if you've never done it before, it could be sort of confusing. That's what got me the most, is I was just sort of confused by how to go about it. So I taught myself how to do it one winter, and then we realized how much we really liked it. And of course, there's just a lot of health benefits to having fermented vegetables. So now that's something that I just keep in our rotation, and I don't have to look up a recipe. I don't have to think about it. I can just get some cabbages, cut them up, and make the brine and ferment the sauerkraut. Like, it's just so easy. But it was definitely a learning curve, something that I had to familiarize myself with when I had more time and just get comfortable with doing it. Making bread was something else that was a bit overwhelming to me at first, and it took a lot of time to get to the point where I didn't need to look up the recipe or the how-to anymore. I could just mix up the dough. Now I don't even hardly have to think about it. I don't even really measure or think about how much flour and water and salt. I just have the basics down because I've done it so much, and I've done it the same way so many times. Maybe I'm not very experimental in the kitchen. Once I figure out something that I like and I know how to do it, that's just what I keep going back to again and again. And that's just how I really keep things simple, but yet I can keep good food coming out of my kitchen and keep good food on the table. Any chance I can, I will try to prep dinner in the middle of the day while the kids are napping, or I just get some spare time. That always seems to make my evenings go much smoother, especially this time of year when we have baby calves out on pasture and just a lot needs to be checked on. So I usually check on the cows twice a day. So I always like to try to at least prep my vegetables, get everything all chopped up, get my meat thawed, and get an idea of what I want to make for dinner that evening. That just helps the whole evening go a lot smoother. We have finally gotten to the end of calving season, and we had pretty good luck this year. Everything went fairly smooth. We did lose a couple calves, and unfortunately that's just kind of to be expected when you have that many calving. But for the most part, it was a really good year for calving, and we're just so glad that we're done. And now that all of the cows have had their babies for this time of year, we're going to bring the whole herd up, work everybody through the chute, get tags on all those babies, and get things ready for the fall and winter months. And I plan to share all of that with you guys in my video next week. So if that's something that might interest you, how we get our whole herd ready for winter, you're definitely going to want to check back in. This evening, I decided to make one of my favorite soup recipes, and that's just a loaded potato and ground beef soup. I thought it would go perfect with the bread I had to bake, and then we just have a lot of potatoes that aren't going to store well for much longer, and then I had some carrots as well, so I thought just putting it all together in this soup would make a really good meal for this evening. And then being able to use some of that chicken broth that I made earlier in the week and raw milk from a neighbor's farm just made this the perfect little farm to table dinner for this fall evening. I really find it so satisfying when I can put meals like this together, cooking totally from scratch and sourcing most of my own ingredients. That's how I really find enjoyment in the kitchen, and I think everyone can do this. You can just source your ingredients locally or try your best to cook as much from scratch as possible. A lot of it is just taking the time to learn the skills, learn how to make the broth, ferment the sauerkraut, stretch and fold the bread, learn those things just slowly and at your own pace, and then it becomes simple to throw nourishing meals together that you can also find enjoyment in preparing.